Hey guys, what's up? It's Andy Epics, and today we're playing Kerbal Space Program. Again, sitting out on our launch pad today, we have a Ariane 5 from Lionhead Industries with two communication satellites. The top one, the Sidla, and then the bottom one. But first, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, toc. Allumage volcan. Allumage de rapet. Allumage de rapet et décollage. Our Ariane is launching into a geostationary transfer orbit, or GTO, with an apogee of approximately 2868 kilometers. We've got the KSP Achievements mod and MechJeb, as well as ScanSat. You'll see a mission with ScanSat potentially later in the episode. We're going to have two of these launches. And then we're going to have a possibly Minotaur 5 from the ULA pack go off, carrying the first of our ScanSats into orbit. This will be a low altitude ScanSat, hence the reason we're using the Minotaur launcher. I've got the alternate resource panel up here, as well as Kerbal alarm clock, which reminds me I need to add alarms for all, so create alarms for all. We'll remove our Moho thing window, since we're not going to make that. Well, we might be able to make that. But you can see we are above 300 meters per second, and we have two solids that burn from launch until we're about 10 kilometers up. And then they separate, and then we throttle the Vulcan from 25 to 55%. Sorry, from 20 to 50%. Since the Vulcan is overpowered in 0.90, we need to use it in the half throttle mode. Sorry I haven't gotten around to posting any real solar system stuff recently. I've just been busy playing Stock. But we're going to set the throttle up to 50. There are two solids sort of spiraling off. They had parachutes on it for version 0.24, but sadly they don't work in version 0.90. We're 13 kilometers in altitude and climbing. There is an Ariane 5 launch on November 10th. I'm hyped. This video is dedicated to the men and women who serve in... Never mind. That's just some sentimental thing, living in Canada. That's just some Canadian sentimental crap about today. Moving swiftly onwards. We have an apoapsis of 50 kilometers. Our current velocity is 700 meters per second. as we set the throttle up to 70, 75. 3/4 throttle. Note how we got above the majority of the atmosphere, and we're not experiencing any shock heating. Future launches will include views directly from the vehicle via the Hullcam VDS mod. Well, if someone would like to put a Reddit thing together with links to all of the mods, I'd be cool with that. But right now you can see we've throttled down to 55%, and we'll maintain this throttle all the way up to our designated apoapsis. The two satellites have reaction control system thrusters built in to allow them to fine-tune their orbits down to precisely what they need. So we're continuing to climb. We will impact in water around the planet. I should think we'll impact somewhere on our first stage will impact somewhere on the other side of the planet. But right now we're 46 kilometers up with an apoapsis of 122, and it's increasing by a kilometer per second. We're pitching over rather quickly because I took a very steep ascent profile towards orbit. Again, I wouldn't mind the ESA pack being updated for KSP 1.0. In here you can see the EPS, or the upper stage of the Ariane 5 launch vehicle, which I've brought up information for. Preparing for fairing sub. There go the fairings. I'm going to deploy the upper satellite's omnidirectional antenna in order to communicate. You can see it there, extended. So our vertical velocity is about a kilometer per second. I don't know how the Ariane drops its vertical velocity and then gains a horizontal velocity again, and then gains its vertical velocity. But holy mama. And shut down. Separation. And upper stage is powered on. So first spacecraft to separate will be the top satellite. Yes, we have stage recovery installed too. The first spacecraft to separate will be the top satellite, as we coast up to a nominal apoapsis. Note how I believe that the Omni antenna does not have the range to communicate back to launch control. So that's why we have one of these two antennas. Then on the top of that payload, we have the big dish, our long-range comms antenna, or LRCA. So that one will stay deactivated until we have a mission to go somewhere else, like Joule. We'll activate the secondary mission. I'll activate one of the two secondary antenna on the upper stage of the spacecraft. So you can see our line of communication for remote tech as our apoapsis continues to increase and shut down. Stability is on. Just gonna fine-tune our orbit just a bit. I just need to go onto my internet browser and check exactly what synchronous orbit is. One of the missions you'll see launched later is the first module of the YouTuber's space station, or the test module for the Kerbin Space Society. The future missions may be contracted out to the Elegant Design Bureau for doesn't give us an orbital period. But the orbital period is something like 6 hours. .2868.74. We're going to fire our RCS. Our RCS will be fired. I just need to keep an eye on my apoapse height. Wait, we needed to reduce our apoapse height down to 2868.74. So you can see I undershot a bit. You can see it's a tricky maneuver. That's 2892. I'll use MechJet. Alright, so here we're getting ready to perform our orbit finalization maneuver as we kill our time warp. $18 seconds. Okay. So we have 18 minutes worth of RCS fuel left as we raise our orbital period to 6 hours. Separation of the first communication satellite. The first satellite has separated successfully. Nominal separation on the spacecraft Nominal spacecraft separation. Spacecraft separation is good. As we switch back and prepare for the SIDLA jettison. Separation on the protective shroud of the second communications satellite. Activation on the secondary dish. The orbit of that spacecraft seems to be staying in one place. Preparing to fire the retro burn in order to bring our orbit a little further away from the main space, a little further away from the first spacecraft. They're flying in a sort of preparing for a 13 meter per second burn. We'll target our primary antenna to point at the other communications satellite. There will be 4 of them in geostationary orbit. I'll point at this one. That other satellite will launch a second pair like this, 2 Kerbin communications satellite, 2 Kerbin grade and 2 interplanetary grade satellites. We have line of comms. We should have communications. Shut down. We will target another one of our antennas to point at the communication satellites as we prepare to deploy the other two. Stand by to initiate deployment or deployment auto sequencer. Spacecraft separation in 3, 2, 1, set. We should have had... I thought we had it talking to the... Damn. I didn't deploy. I thought I had... Did I not activate this top antenna? No, I activated it. Okay. I'll figure that. We'll maneuver. We'll put something in position. So that's direct. That's got a communications line to mission control. This will deorbit. Shut down. Entry interface and explosion. And the numbers are ticking away, and we'll find out what altitude we were destroyed at. Going 2.9 kilometers per second. Okay. My phone just... No, what's this? Right, it's now time to deploy our second set of ComSats. We'll load that vehicle and launch it again. One of our next we will alternate between launching satellites and manned exploration missions. One of our longest missions is going to be the Duna Exploration Lab, or Dell. No, not the computer company. The Duna Exploration Laboratory. A science rover. Dell will be a science rover. The Duna Exploratory Lab. Next we need to action group that. And there we go. This has